as for the Ravens, you pointed it out, Chris, how you thought that the adjustment from last year's AFC Championship game when there were only 6 runs by a running back, a head-scratcher of ultimate playoff head-scratchers that will live for a long time, threatening the why did the Seahawks not run it with Marshawn Lynch again? Why did Malcolm Butler only play one snap in special teams in a Super Bowl where Nick Foles was throwing for 900 yards? And then last year in the AFC Championship game, why did the Ravens only run it with running backs just 6 times in a game that was definitely still there for the taking, and a running attack would have actually maybe calmed things down? And you said Derrick Henry may have 6 runs in the first drive, and I'm like, that's a lot. He had 5.
He had 5. I was so close.
He had 5, but only 8 the rest of the way.
Why?
And
the 4th down play where they went for it at midfield, they run that weird rub-out route to Flowers. Like, you have Derrick. This is why you signed him.
And in this penultimate drive of the game last night, in which they wound up only settling for 3, leading to the Chiefs' last drive where they wound up punting it back for the final throws of the game from the Ravens last night. They did go for it on 4th down. They did hand it to Derrick Henry. And that said, okay, you try to maybe keep it's obvious that 22 is going to get a ball, one would think, on a short gain. So maybe that's why they went in a different direction with that throw that looked bad, that is from snap. That only 8 carries for Derrick. And you could see sometimes they were in that pistol. Again, we talked about it with Rod Woodson, because he likes to have a head of steam running straight ahead, right? And so you don't get a head of steam when he's just standing next to the quarterback in shotgun and getting the ball handed to him. And the thing that I didn't see last night too often was no fullback in front of him.
Yeah, only a handful of plays with the fullback.
Where Lamar's under center, fullback behind him, and then there's an eye dotted by Derrick Henry. We saw pistol. We saw under center with no fullback. We saw, a shotgun formation where Henry was to either the right or left of Lamar. I think they're hunting and pecking a little bit here as to what is the best scenario, and I think they'll wind up landing on that while they're figuring out what the offensive line is going to look like as a congealed unit with full communication going down and where they're lining up. Yeah. I do believe the 2 tight end set with Andrews and Likely is their best way to go forward. I'm wondering if Bateman can be a deep threat, a solid number 2, and I know how I feel about that word solid. Yeah. I'm a little worried about a down the field threat here, but I'll tell you this though, defensively I'm not particularly worried about them at all. And
they tightened up after that opening drive.
On the field before the game, I saw Lamar again. The whole concept of he lost 30 pounds. I saw him. He looked great. He looked
fast,
dude.
Out there.
He looked 100% yoked and healthy. Like he looked like a healthy dude for who's lost 30 pounds. He looked sculpted, and he looked really good. And then we saw last night. I just don't think 122 yards on the ground out of him in a game where you're trailing, I don't know if that's the win. And that's why I think John Harbaugh is just going to go for 2. Just let's get from the 2-yard line. Let's take our chances. And
man, I'm dying to know what the play call would have been.
Well, I just think wait till he does it again. They're going to do that. They're going to do it again.
This is the team and the Lions. They just kind of screw it. Let's go for 2. I'm just dying what the play would have been based on the script last night.
So that's my takeaway from the Ravens. That's my takeaway on the Ravens. I do believe the Bengals are going to win this division. That's what I predicted. The Ravens absolutely can. There's no question about it. And
we'll see how Cincinnati looks against KC in a couple weeks.
That's their next game. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.